Hey, everybody, welcome to the Digital Speakeasy where you do have to go home, but you can stay here. Today is about being the Zest. We're going to get into exactly what that means in a few moments. But I'd like to welcome my guests today for the hashtag You're the Zest Show. Master blender of Naked Grouse, Miss Diane Stuart. Diane, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jeremy. How are you?
So nice to see you. Thank you for joining us all the way from Glasgow. I know it's late there, and we appreciate you being here. Master Zester, Miss Lili Aquino. Lili, how are you?
Hi, guys. Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Lili is going to teach us how to be Zest. We'll get into that in a minute. My co-host tonight, Mr. Joe Gratkowski. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Doing fantastic, Jared. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
And my Guardo Camino and bartender du jour, new baby daddy, Mr. Tommy Mauriello. Tommy, how are you?
Living the dream, sir. Living the dream. Very happy to see Jersey Joe in the house as well, if I must say so.
Yeah, we finally got Jersey Joe to join us for a show. Joe, I want to ask you, because times are crazy. And, and we say that almost like, it's just not a big deal. Times are crazy. It's like we've gotten so used to saying it. People say, how are you doing? And I look at them like they're crazy for asking. Why are you asking me that? I mean, seriously, how am I doing? How are you doing? I don't want to know. We all know. Joe, what are we doing to be our best right now? And being our best means not only taking good care of ourselves, our family, but also taking care of our community. What are you doing? What are you doing to take care of yourselves, your family, and your community right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have to agree with you. A lot of these things these terms have become kind of flippant at this point. It's part and parcel with other words that kind of get used too often. But it is kind of crazy. And that is a legitimate phrase. What am I doing in my community? A wide variety of things. When it comes to giving back or giving more, which is, part of the Edgerton ethos, it could be anything as small.
I hate that word ethos. Ethos? Is that sounds like something from Scientology to me. It's just
or like a planet. I always thought it was a planet.
It's something from Lord Ethos hath told you. So your ethos is to give back, and what are you doing to give back?
My next door neighbors recently moved in. Okay, we got new neighbors, and that's always can be dicey. It can be good. It can be bad. You never know. It's kind of a crapshoot, right? Turns out they're lovely. So one of the things I did,
thank God,
dodged the bullet. But I helped them a bit. I kind of helped them move in a very, very safe way. Of course, you approach it and you say, "Look, I don't have to come in. I can wear a mask, whatever you wish." And it turns out one of the gentlemen had a bad back. So I said, how can I just get a few things off the truck, put it onto the hand truck, and let your son do the hand truck work.
I love that.
That is something very, very, very small. When you think about things like World Central Kitchen, that is much, much more grand, much more impactful in that regard.
Yeah.
Something as simple as literally helping your neighbor can help give back.
I remember when I lived in New York, like people would from outside the city, they'd always say something, oh, New Yorkers aren't friendly or something. And I go, no, they're just busy. But you would see little tiny acts of kindness all day long in New York. If you had a woman, a new mom with a baby carriage on the subway, she only had to wait a minute and a half, maybe tops, before somebody would come and say, hey, let me help you up the stairs with that. The other 100 people that might have walked past her in that minute and a half knew someone else was going to take care of that. And today just wasn't their day because they might have been just too busy to do it. So it's these tiny little acts that also make people think that, what, Joe, your neighbors right now, they think you're the best, right? It's a super smart move, And well, they're going to be knocking on your door for some booze also. That's the other good thing for neighbors, to be neighbors with you, I'm sure.
Yeah, once they crack that code, the doorbell starts ringing a bit more often than normal.
Yeah. So we are starting a campaign, and we're starting it right now. And it's called hashtag You're the Zest. So our friends over at Naked Grouse understand that the hospitality industry has been hammered by the consequences of shutdowns all over the world. I worked in restaurants for most of my life, and I feel it every single day. And my heart goes out to every single friend of mine in the business, but also just thinking about the mom and pop shops that are shutting down left and right. Our friends that don't have jobs, and seeing what those people are doing to be the best, to help one another during these times. When lockdown first started, I went down to the farm near my house and I pulled a bunch of eggs direct from the chickens, and I delivered them to all the bartenders I knew that were out of work. And I said, you know what? Everybody always needs eggs. I can't give them all the money in the world, but I'm going to give them eggs. And I know bartenders who are riding bikes to deliver cocktails and food to people in need right now. I know bartenders and restaurateurs who are transforming their kitchens into food stations and raising money through various different charities right now to help one another. And I love that about our community. I think that they come together beautifully. So we want to celebrate that by choosing a champion, someone who's supporting or donating resources, delivering cocktails, delivering food, creating inspirational hospitality tutorials, anything that you think is helping someone in need right now, even if it's just helping your neighbor move some boxes, because that neighbor was not expecting you to come over and help right now. So I'm sure they felt such gratitude. So for that, I'm starting my You're the Zest campaign right now by zesting Joe and saying, Joe, you're the zest for helping out your neighbor. And this is my zest of Joe. So I've chose Joe as my champion, and I have turned him into a lemon caricature.
That is beautiful. That's spot on.
I got your little your pipettes over there, your bottle of Naked Grouse. And later after the show, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it up on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm going to use the hashtag You're the Zest, Joe. And I'm also going to take it a step further over the course of the next couple months. When I come across a bartender or a restaurateur, someone in the restaurant business who is going out of their way to help others, I'm going to make a zest of them, throw it up, and hashtag You're the Zest, and help get the word out there. That word is going to be supported by our work with the World Central Kitchen. So you can not only zest a champion in the hospitality industry, but you can also encourage them to donate to the Digital Speakeasy Double Match program for the World Central Kitchen. Every dollar raised through this incredible You're the Zest campaign will be double matched by the Digital Speakeasy and Edrington Americas. Joe, You're the Zest. I will post that later. Hashtag You're the Zest.
Thank you so much. That likeness is uncanny. Let me tell you, if you were to bring that lemon to New Jersey, you would probably not have to pay a cover charge. Anywhere you go, you'd probably be all right.
I love it. I love it.
What are some things you're doing, Jeremy? What are some things that are helping you be a champion in your neck of the woods?
Well, I live on a farm, so I love to deliver produce picked right from the farm in the backyard. The farmer is a neighbor who's a great guy, and he's allows us to go and get whatever we want. He also has chickens, so I'll bring some eggs to some folks in the industry that maybe just. I think we're all foodies. So for me, if I come by your house with some tomatoes and fresh eggs, that would bring me such joy if someone would do that for me. So I know that those people appreciate it as well. And, you know, the Digital Speakeasy has raised about $2,800 so far for the World Central Kitchen. And I'm out trying to raise as much money as possible for that program because we're going to double match all of it.
Wow,
And,
man.
I'm trying to get my wife not to kill me.
Well, you're a consummate champion in a number of ways. So, you know, I couldn't help myself, but I think you need some zest headed your way too.
Really?
What do you think? I think you do.
I want to be zested.
You want to be zested?
Yeah,
All right,
hashtag you're the zest.
Well, all right. Well, here it comes. I don't want to, you know, hopefully it doesn't hit anybody, but I have a beautiful Jeremy Fonicello. If you get this hair, the dark, curly, beautiful hair.
I love it.
You have a dark blue suit I really like. So this is pretending you have that dark blue suit on.
I can't fit into it right now, but I can't.
Enjoy the party and a little drink in hand.
I love the drink. Is that a blue curacao drink, or is that the blue wine from Spain that I've heard so much about?
Yeah, you know, this was robbed from Barbie. She's very mad at me right now. Hopefully my daughter doesn't.
Barbie has cocktails now? Wow, Barbie's really stepped up.
Yeah, the hospitality edition Barbie came through for us, which is really cool.
I appreciate that so much, Joe. I can't tell you.
This wouldn't smile. If I could have made the smile bigger, I mean, this is the smile that launched 1,000 ships, Jeremy.
Oh, it brings me such joy to see that. Thank you so much for taking the time to do it. And hopefully you'll share it later on digital, social at hashtag you're the zest.
Absolutely.
So speaking of being the zest, I know a guy who is who you always want in your corner, and his name's Tommy Mauriello. And Tommy, you are going to show us today how to make a cocktail using. Don't get in a fight, Tommy. I know you want to sweep my leg.
Listen,
so
man,
bad.
I'm watching Cobra Kai on Netflix. It's around because I was a gentleman and I watched it on YouTube the first time because they made the show. But you play this song, I'm about to put on my skeleton suit. You know,
I know you want to sweep my leg. What, Sensei?
Yeah. And
no body bags, baby.
I'm coming for you, LaRusso. I'm coming for you.
Mr. Miyagi. So Tommy's going to teach us today how to make a You're the Zest cocktail. Is it this month or next month is whiskey sour month?
If it's a full month, I'm not sure, but I am making a whiskey sour today, so I'm either early or right on time.
And this is a You're the Zest whiskey sour, made by our bartender today, Mr. Tommy Mauriello. Tommy, go for it.
Excellent. So I absolutely love whiskey sours, but you got to do them the right way. So I went ahead and I did get an egg white. So now we're going to combine the best of the 70s and 80s with Cobra Kai as well as Mighty Mix Jim. Get my Rocky Balboa on. So we're going to do a little egg white for this one. The egg white's going to give some foam. It's going to grab onto all the ingredients that we have that are going to go into this. So mainly the lemon, as I drop the entire yolk in there. Excuse me. Knew I should have got this out before. So it's going to grab onto that lemon, and that's really what we want to grab onto. And that's what the foam is going to come up with over the top. So we're going to do 1 full egg white. And then we are going to go ahead and do 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. I am going to do a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. I went ahead and prepped these beforehand. And then we're going to do 2 full ounces of the lovely Naked Grouse. So Naked Grouse is using the finest single malts in the land, and they are being laid to rest in first-filled sherry seasoned casks. So hopefully that lemon, as well as the simple syrup, really pops that sherry flavor out.
Tommy, why the egg? Why are you putting an egg in there? I love making egg white cocktails. It makes it nice and frothy. But I've had people over to the house and I've made them a drink, and I'll take out the egg and they'll go, "Oh, geez, I don't know." What does the egg do to this drink?
So the egg is really what's grabbing on to the lemon, the simple syrup, and the whiskey. It's that bridge that's grabbing all those flavors together. And then we're going to do a dry shake. As I said before, I've heard this be called a reverse shake, but I don't know. I don't agree with that. I don't like it.
What is the dry shake, Tommy?
So the dry shake is with no ice, and it's making sure that egg marries and gets pulled together with all the ingredients of the drink.
And you only use the egg white, right? You didn't use the yolk.
Well, the yolk did fall into it, as you saw me struggling a little bit. But
right.
Yes, I did get that out, and I only used the egg white. And what that's going to do is make it nice and foamy. So we're pretty much having a whiskey lemon meringue pie. So that's going to create a nice foam for over the top of it.
And great mouthfeel, great texture with an egg white.
Absolutely. And my favorite cocktail of all time is a Ramos Gin Fizz. And I thought that I was going to get murdered the night after my wedding when my wife and I went into the old Absinthe House and ordered 5 of them. Yes, a very nice mouthfeel with an egg white.
Now you are wet shaking.
Yes, I am. And normally you put this in a coupe class, but I'm a fan of Nick and Nora's, so that's what we're going with today.
Gorgeous. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
All right. If you have a drink at home or if you have a drink on the speakeasy, now's the time to raise it. Tommy, how about a toast, buddy?
We're going to finish this off with just a little bit of Angostura bitters.
Beautiful.
Over the top for a nice little garnish. A toast to the Master Zester. Miss Lili.
Lili, the Master Zester. Wow.
Awesome campaign. So cheers to you.
So Tommy, right now you've got a baby. And so I think that you are probably slammed with being the zest. You are you're zesting all over the house all the time.
I must say that I'm trying my best to zest all over the house. My wife, though, is hands down the zest. So I will also toast my wife, Ashley, who is an absolute rock star and is just zesting it up left and right, because I have a whole new definition of toughness after seeing my wife and what she has done for the last month for our beautiful baby girl, Harlan. That is a different breed of human being. So
nature, man.
My wife is hands down the zest.
Nice. Well, Lili loves your wife, as we all do, but I think Lili might have thought, Tommy, you need to be zested. Lili, our master zester, do you? Oh my God.
Stop the press.
And he has 2 drinks.
Oh my, that's amazing.
Wow.
I love it. Well, I love that the blonde tips on top.
That's fantastic. I love it. Thank you, Lili. That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure that all of Lili's works will be shown soon in the Smithsonian. If
Thank
not,
you guys. Thank you.
Edrington's main office. But Lili is our next guest today. And Lili, you're simply the zest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
I hope that you can share your Tommy's Zest later on today on
there we go.
Instagram and Facebook with hashtag You're the Zest without the apostrophe. That's something
I was keeping him a secret for now, but I will post after this.
That the unveiling, has had us all in suspense all day. And, as we've all learned in the last 20 minutes that we've been building you up because, this thing, that I did today, right? Now, Joe Joe, I stared at a picture of you for so long, and this was my first zest of you.
Wow. Okay.
And I tried so hard, and I was like, it kind of looks like him. Not at all.
I tell you, that first one's got a little. If I was Tim Burton, maybe was kind of doing me. That would be probably what he would do.
The second one, certainly came together. But Lili, every zest that I see you do makes everyone smile. And I think that you are a champion. If we could all zest you, we would. So something's got to be done about that. We're going to have to get some artist out of New York to do you. But could you walk us through a little bit of how you're zesting at home? I took out my kids' crafts and I started cutting, felt, and I had all this stuff that I didn't use. And then I used a printer and I printed out, the picture of the bottle and colored some stuff in. Googly eyes are great. What are you doing to zest people?
I've kept it really simple using 3 things, but I do have a little secret. Instead of using real lemons, I've been using faux lemons because it makes it easier with the glue gun, but my intention is to also send the lemon heads to the people that I make them after, so that they can keep them. You don't have to throw them out.
Beautiful.
So I start with my lemon, and then I do look at the picture of the person, but instead of going into too much detail, you just have to pick out just the very silhouettes and simple things. And then my other 2 secret ingredients is just a glue gun and some pipe cleaners.
Oh my God.
And some paint. I did bring out some of my paint, my old paint, and a couple of paint brushes to fill in the eyes. But yeah, all we do is we start with the lemon, first sketch out the eyes, nothing too complicated, just simple, making sure you just get the eye color, give it some eyelashes, get the eyebrow shape, and then just the nose, just a little silhouette. Then you just go crazy with some pipe cleaners and your glue gun, and then you just start gluing it on until it looks kind of like the person. Like, for example, Jada's known for her big curly hair. So
that's great.
Have
you posted that one yet?
I have not. I posted another one today, but I will post hers.
Wow.
Tomorrow.
You heard it here first.
That's great.
An exclusive.
Oh my gosh. Now, I think it's important, like what you said, to find a sort of character trait for the person you're zesting, that thing that sort of helps them stand out. I was immediately thinking, of course, a beard, goatee is easy for Joe, but he always has a pin on his lapel that I've always noticed, and that pin, though I did a terrible job with it, finding Tommy's blonde frosty,
exactly, and his beard. So those were things that had to go.
That beard looks
egg white.
The lemon beard looks better than my regular beard right now. I'm really impressed by that.
That's a good lemon beard.
Again, this was all pipe cleaners. All I did was chop up the pipe cleaners with a pair of scissors and then just glue it on.
That's awesome.
And there's so many things with Tommy too, like the tattoos, the wrestling. Tommy, I had to tell you, a week ago I tried to zest you, and I failed miserably. And it was like, as soon as I thought of Lili to be on the show, I was like, Lili, you got to do Tommy because there's too many things there, and I'm getting
You just
overwhelmed.
have to pick a couple of things, like 1 or 2, and then just stick with that. Otherwise, then you need like a whole body of a couple lemons to do the whole person. It's just the head.
I do have a question for you, Lili, if I may. So when you're dealing with a talent as versatile as Jeremy, he sometimes wears glasses. So I had actually made, I don't know if you can see, I made glasses, but I was torn about whether or not to attach them. Do you have any advice for attaching glasses?
Glue gun. The glue gun is your best
Glue gun
friend.
does it all.
I'll give you an example of Jack here. Oh, and there goes someone else. See? We had some glasses and some headphones.
Lemon down.
Glued them right on. I know.
I
Our
love it.
lemons are having their own party back here.
That person just fell over somewhere in Wisconsin. Boom.
Yeah, we're good now. We're back.
Do they double as voodoo dolls?
No,
Good question.
No. Okay.
we're all about doing the zest we can.
Lili, that's what is being the Zest? What are you doing right now to be the Zest, Lili?
So again, like Joe, I'm helping my neighbors. When the pandemic started, I brought out my old sewing machine and started making masks for everybody on my floor, and even
Oh, that's
for some of our
great.
coworkers that reached out who had kids and couldn't find any masks that fit their kids. So I started mailing them out, and just really, being here for whoever needs to knock on my door and anything I can do to help. So.
I think along with that, I think we can all collectively say that, part of our appreciation for everything right now is just a little bit sweeter with a nip of fantastic whiskey. And in this case today, of course, we're talking about Naked Grouse. And we happen to have someone on our show named Diane Stuart, who is responsible for making this stuff. So every single time we drink it, and this thing is all over the world, there's one person that is making it. And for that, I would like to say, Diane, I think you're the Zest for making this incredibly good drink. And Lili, I think, has memorialized you in lemon head form. # you're the Zest, Diane.
Thanks, guys. That's fantastic.
Wow.
My little cocktail is just falling over right now.
That is so great.
Wow.
Oh, thank you so much, Lili, for sharing your secrets with us. We will all have to work on zesting you, because if there's anybody that deserves it, it is you, Lili. Thank you so much. Sometimes it's tough when you're the best at something. We're all going to have to band together to zest you. So thank you so much.
I keep getting commissions, but you know what? Keep them coming.
I love it. Oh, Diane Stuart, everybody. Diane, what time is it where you are? 10:30?
It's 10:30 here in Glasgow. Yep.
Oh man, I was in bed last night at 10:30 because I have 2 small children, and when I can get 12 hours sleep, I take it. I was in bed at 8:30 last night, so I can't tell you how happy I am that you joined us tonight to tell us a little bit about how you're the Zest, but also, give us some secrets as to the life of a master blender, a female master blender, which I know is a minority in the whiskey making world, and of course growing and growing in the whiskey making world, to have more female voices and tastes in that world is much needed, and far too late to be happening, but finally is happening. Diane, what made you start? When you're a kid, I'm sure you weren't running around the playground. My kid told his teacher he wanted to be a flower picker. And I was like, you're the coolest kid. I love you, man. You're the coolest. He did not say, I want to be a master whiskey maker. So what led you to that place and, where you are today? Like, how did you start on that path?
Yeah, not the route that I necessarily thought I would be taking either. And certainly not what I ran around the playground shouting I wanted to be when I was older. For me, actually, I went to university and studied forensic science. So a lot of people often find the disconnect there, doing sort of CSI style study at university, and how I've ended up working in whiskey. But really that scientific grounding in my university studies is kind of what eventually led me into the whiskey industry. I actually am originally from a small village called Aberlour up in Speyside, often referred to as the heart of whiskey making country. And coming from up there, I actually worked as a tour guide in a distillery for a couple of summers. And that's where I kind of learned my sort of like base knowledge of the whiskey making process. And then a couple coupled that together with the sort of scientific side of my degree at university. And I got the opportunity to do some work experience with a company that owned the distillery, where I was a tour guide. Ultimately, that led me into a job as a scientist in the whisky industry. I worked in Edinburgh for a company called the Scotch Whisky Research Institute. And I worked there for 7 years before I moved through here to Edrington. But during that time in Edinburgh, the company I worked for, they did research into the whole Scotch whisky production process. So it gave me a great grounding and great knowledge of the wider process and sort of everything that feeds into it as well. So it was a great start for me.
When you had so many different paths to take, and what was it about whiskey that made you say, I think that's the place I want to go? I mean, in being a master blender for a brand as big as Naked Grouse, I mean, this is a big deal. So you, what made you choose that path? Was it the passion for whiskey making, the creativity, and the science?
I think it's the fact that it's interesting. It's not your every other job that somebody does. And it's one of those jobs as well that I think on the outside of it, a lot of people probably don't think that there's necessarily a lot of science involved in making whiskey. But I very much talk about it as a balance between a bit of science in there, but there's a bit of creativity and art that sort of creeps into it as well, in terms of the blending process. But for me, just the whole idea of finding out more about it and it just being a really interesting subject. What's your day-to-day? Because I think for years I've talked about whiskey, and I think people are still surprised that science, we haven't invented a machine that can do it, that it is a human process, and that you're recreating, maybe Naked Grouse. You weren't the first person to be the master blender. So part of your job is to recreate that and make it a consistent flavor. But inevitably, your tastes are going to come into play there. It's almost like the telephone game to an extent. You try your best, but if there's a new master blender, there's going to be a degree of your personal tastes in that mix, right? Well, I think when it comes to being a master blender and taking on responsibility for a new product, it's getting involved in the brand side of things. It's looking at that product, and if you've got customers who have bought that Naked Grouse product for many years and they like that product, they want to carry on enjoying it, then you as a master blender have to be able to continue to produce that flavor that they want. Within the brand, you could then look at whether there's opportunities to maybe create something that's got a different flavor to it, and then you bring your own twist on things, by bringing something new into the equation. But for me, a lot of what we do is ensuring that consistency and that quality in the product that we've got as well. That every batch of it that we make reaches the customer, and they're a bit like, that's as good as the last one I had.
And Naked Grouse, of course, is a vatted malt. So it's 100% malted barley-based spirits. There's no neutral grain spirit, and it's not a blended Scotch whiskey like, say, its sister Famous Grouse. Famous Grouse is a blend. This is a vatted malt. And what is your day-to-day? Are you nosing and tasting all day? Per week, how many casks would you say you're nosing or samples to create that final product?
Yeah, well, it's quite funny because people are slightly disappointed when you tell them that you don't actually nose and taste whiskey all day, every day. And it is a big part of the job, and it's absolutely part of the job I absolutely love doing. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be able to get to do that as part of my job. But there's so many other things that feed into Naked Grouse. But I say Naked Grouse, really when you're looking after any whiskey, but not just that, as well as looking after Naked Grouse. I've got a lot of other things that I do within the wider team. So my role as master blender of Naked Grouse also sits within the wider liquid quality team in Edrington, here in Glasgow. So I work out of our blending and bottling site here in Glasgow. So it's involved in a lot of wider things like troubleshooting any issues within the plant that we might be having, as well as carrying out the sensory side of things. We've got other things as well that sit in the background. So thinking about the years ahead and laying down the spirit that will eventually become Naked Grouse in the future, coordinating with other teams about the casks that we're bringing into the country to fill with liquid for Naked Grouse. So it's spinning a lot of plates all at one time, but it's really interesting, and the variation that it offers is fantastic. There's rarely 2 days that are the same.
I know that, whenever I go to a dinner party, and somebody says, so what do you do? And I go, well, I work for a company called Edrington, and we, own spirits brands, and inevitably there's a lot of great questions that come up, and everybody has so many, like, what's the best one, or wow, that's interesting. I've never met a guy like you before, and now I kind of, I know that that's going to happen if I'm meeting people. They're going to have so many great questions for me. I would imagine for you, there'd be even more questions, because you're really getting to the heart of this magical liquid that the entire world is in love with. So I would love to open this up to not only the chat, whomever might be watching, but also the group. Joe, Lili, Tommy, do you have any questions for Diane?
Yeah, I have a couple. I don't want to
hit us. Yeah,
jump in front of anyone else, but so the first one is, when these incredible malts are married in a sherry cask, does it really vary very far how long you leave it in that cask? Do you get some casks that are ready to rock and you only leave it in there for a little while, or other ones that might take longer?
Well, because we're using first fill sherry casks, these casks have never held whiskey before. So we know that these casks are going to be of really good quality and they're going to deliver really well on flavour. So once we fill the blend into the cask, we have a sort of set period of time, and it's normally about 6 months that we leave that whiskey in those casks for what we call sort of like that extra maturation. It's also referred to sometimes as finishing. But we tend to have a standard length of time of about 6 months. And as I say, that really comes down to the fact that it's the first time the casks have been used for holding whiskey, so we know that we're going to get a fairly consistent delivery in that time frame.
Great.
Now, my second question is, I imagine with your forensics background that not too many people will take your lunch out of the refrigerator. You could probably figure that out, right? Is that how that works?
They actually make a lot of fun of me at work, because I tend to have heaps of plastic boxes. I always bring my lunch with me, and I'll have about 5 plastic boxes in the fridge with different things in it. And then there'll always be a joke at the end of lunchtime. Oh, do you have enough Tupperware boxes, Diane?
So you're blending nonstop, even with your meals. You're getting a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Lunchtime the other day, I had a little bit of chorizo, some sun-dried tomatoes, a bit of mozzarella, a bit of bread.
Great. Tommy, do you have any questions? Lili, any questions for Diane? Go for it.
I do. Diane, what is your favorite way to enjoy Naked Grouse?
Oh, good question. It sort of depends what sort of humour I'm in, to be honest. And that's the great thing that I love about Naked Grouse and the blended malt category as well, but particularly with Naked Grouse, is it's such a versatile liquid to use. So it has that level of flavour that is fantastic. It's got that great intensity of flavour that if you want to drink it on its own, then we absolutely encourage people to do that. But equally, if you're maybe not a big fan of whiskey, or you're maybe trying whiskey for the first time and you think that the flavours are going to be a bit too intense for you, then, trying it as a long drink or a cocktail is something that, again, equally, we encourage it to the max. We did some of the sour serves that we have. I actually practiced a few of them a couple of weeks ago. I tried the apple sour at home. Now, it said that you had to juice an apple. Juicing an apple is a lot more difficult than juicing an orange or a lemon.
I don't even know how to do that.
I had apple all over my kitchen.
Oh. Diane, have you zested anybody lately?
I have, actually. I've got a couple here beside me. So I've made 2 zests here today. And these are really just shout outs to people who over the last few months have been, absolutely fantastic in my eyes. I lived in Edinburgh for almost 10 years, and I only moved to Glasgow at the tail end of last year. And obviously was only here a few months before we went into the lockdown situation. So
Yeah.
that put a little bit of a dampener on my ability to go and meet new people in this city. So it's really, connecting with people through work, which has been a great outlet for me. So the first person that I've zested here, and I'm going to apologise to him in advance because his hair has not turned out how I wanted it to, and it's not been generous to him. But I tried to get quite creative with what I was using. So this is the first zester I've done.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
Craig Owen, you've been zested. Hashtag you're the zest.
This is Craig Owen. So Craig works as part of our liquid quality team. He's the lab manager and looks after a lot of the research that we do into maturation. Craig's here. I tried to make it by dipping it in coffee. So he smells lovely. But unfortunately, as the coffee soaked up the glue from underneath, it's really shrunk down in size. He has more hair than that.
I love how creative you are. Good idea.
This is Craig's little lab coat as well for when he was in the lab. He was one of the first of our team that came back to work after we shut for a short period of time. So Craig's really put the hours in the lab, and he's been a great outlet for me when I've had days that have been quite tough and things like that. He's been great for me to be somebody to talk to.
Thank you, Craig.
The other person that I've zested here is actually a member of the Naked global team here in Glasgow. So this is Nadia.
Oh, hi, Nadia. I love your smile.
So that's the reason I actually zested Nadia. So Nadia is somebody who always has a big smile on her face. Nadia is always very calm and very chilled out, whereas I can be a person that can be quite stressy and fiery sometimes. And if I go on a call with Nadia, I always know I'm going to come off that call a little bit calmer and a little bit happier as well. But Nadia's got some fantastic hair, and she always likes to rock a hat and her big hoop earrings.
I love it. Lily, what do you think of those?
She did an amazing job. Love the earrings.
Unbelievable job, Diane. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's hold up our hashtag, You're the Zest. I'd like to thank my guests today, Mr. Joe Gratkowski, Tommy Mauriello, Lili Aquino, Diane Stuart. Start zesting your heroes and share them with us using hashtag, You're the Zest. Give to our fundraiser at the World Central Kitchen. Link to donate in the Instagram bio. For every $1 raised, we will double match. Let's get these people the much needed funds to help everyone around the world. Follow the Digital Speakeasy on YouTube. And remember, thank you for joining us. You do have to go home, but you can stay here.